Yeah. Oh, yeah. What is up, everybody? How you doing? My name's Matt. This is Eric.
Morning.
We went out fishing on that lake this morning. We had a fun morning.
It was a blast.
We had a fun morning. The age-old conversation on the way out of the river this morning was, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And I saw when he got on the boat this morning, he had a jerkbait rod set up. And I'm like, I just rigged one up the other day too. Why don't we go fish jerkbaits? And Eric fishes Walleye Wednesday tour on Wednesday nights, which today's Wednesday. And typically you guys do a lot of jerkbait fishing during the tournament.
Yeah.
And some of the more successful guys on the tournament trail, we were talking about Ian Renfrew earlier, are almost exclusively jerkbait fishermen. And you talk about jerkbaits for walleyes, but I don't think people really understand just how well they bite them.
They do. And every variety of fish.
Everything bites a jerkbait.
But the walleyes do take a lick.
Today we had walleyes, largemouth, and perch.
Yep.
Right? No pickerel, shockingly enough. So we settled on let's go jerkbait fish. And I said to Eric about halfway through the morning, I'm like, this is great for me because I only grabbed one rod out of the box. I fished the same lure all day. And I didn't have to think about all the other things I could be doing or should be doing or would like to be doing. We just did one thing. You know, we had 3 hours, not even. We fished, it's 8:06 now. We got out here probably a little after 5:30. Started fishing by 6, and you had your first one, second cast.
Yeah.
So it started off, and
Good.
we got into 8 to 10 foot of water, and we just drifted. The wind was parallel to the shoreline, and we were broadside, but we were both casting on an angle like this. Opinion on jerkbait. I tend to always, if I'm drifting this way, blade I try to keep right straight in front of me. Sometimes I'll fish it one way or another, so it comes in on a bend.
Down and away.
Yeah, so like from here, today we were both casting about 1 o'clock, give or take.
So there's no bow in the line.
Right.
A bow.
Now, but I also think, do you think it has something to do with, so those fish are orientated into the wind current this way?
No. Because the other day I was catching them casting off the back of the boat across the wind. Sometimes it might make a difference, but the other day they may prefer it that way because my partners shouldn't catch any.
How it's orientated to them profile wise.
Yes. Yeah.
But today was all about 1 o'clock as we were bringing it back. So it had a quartering to profile, or quartering away for the fish, because they would have been facing us. So, but we ended up with 7 keepers.
Yeah.
The biggest was 22. That was my last fish. We had a largemouth, we had a perch, but it was predominantly walleyes down through a stretch that was.
Beat the odds. Not one short.
Right.
One short.
Yeah, we didn't measure that one,
Right,
but it
right.
would have been very
Yes,
close. It would have been very close.
Yeah.
14 to 15 inches somewheres in there. But you know, it brought up a good point again, like I say, that it gave me the opportunity to tune off the woulda, coulda, shoulda mentality.
Or what do I do next? If
Right.
It's not working.
Yeah, or you don't give something a full shake of a try. You know, you pull into a spot and you make 3 casts and you don't get bit, and you're like, all right, I'm leaving. Is that really enough time to gauge it? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Everybody's different. There's no right or wrong way, but
Or a tactic change.
you know,
The last fish I got was on a bucktail.
on a bucktail, you would just switch.
You got the double.
Yeah, we doubled these. I'm watching him fight this fish, and I didn't realize you had switched. And it was just getting close to where we were going to see it, and I was just kind of mindlessly doing the same jerk all along. Jerkbait fishing's great when you're having a conversation with somebody, because you don't really have to concentrate on the jerkbait. I did a normal cadence. I go between 1 and 3 snaps, and I pause it in between. You know, sometimes it's 1, 2. I don't know. I just
Pause.
Just
We'll find
moving
a
along.
particular pattern that works.
So if you're not getting bit on a jerkbait, what's the first thing you would change in your retrieve? Speed it up or slow it down? You know, more pauses, less pause.
Sometimes, yeah, you gotta find. Sometimes they want it faster. Sometimes a long pause was key the other day. A 3 or 4 second pause.
Yep.
As soon as you snap it, they grab it.
After the pause.
Yes.
Yep.
As soon as you twitch on that pause, they're looking at it, and that thing moves and they grab it.
Yep. Yep. So it was a fun morning. It really was. It's a great way to start the day, to go out and hit a
Catch
few
some
fish and go and catch the ones you were looking for in a spot you thought they should be there. Now we did go back up. We had five of those fish in the first drift. We went right back up on the same drift, and we got one. And that was it.
Yeah.
And we both said that we wanted to go and see. Let's go right back on the same drift and see if that school is still there. We didn't get bit. That doesn't mean that they're gone, but maybe they played that game once and there wasn't that many of them there. Who knows? You could have caught every one of them that was there.
Yep.
You could have caught 1/10 of what was there.
The second spot was only 2/10 of a mile away, 3/10 of a mile. Same structure. We weren't there for 10 minutes and caught 2 fish.
Yeah, and we had went 10 casts before that, and then all of a sudden double.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And you're like, well, that's odd, because it all is somewhat the same. And another thing Eric and I said too is we were covering a long, shallow, flat near shore. The weeds aren't up in there yet. Matter of fact, we didn't really have any issues with weeds, so I don't even think it's sprouted in there yet. And we were just covering water. We were still drifting. I had 2 bags out, because when we got out there, it was sporty.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be bumpy all day. It laid right down. Not all the way, but it laid down in half. And that's when our window was, and we caught them.
Yeah.
And then we were only going to be out a short time. Eric didn't bring rain gear, and next thing you know, we couldn't see the island. And we're like, okay, we got to go, because you're going to get soaked. So here we are, but you could have done any number of things to cover that water quickly in a search mode. We threw a jerkbait. You could have probably thrown a crankbait in there as well.
Could have thrown a hammer spinner.
You could have thrown a spinner in there. You don't need the weeds for the spinner.
No.
That's a misconception with people sometimes.
Yep.
You could have.
Sure they were gonna bite it.
There really is a whole pile of things you could have done in there today to cover water. A lipless crankbait, a swim bait, fished faster, speed snapping a jig through there.
That one I got.
Whether it be a bucktail, you could have speed snapped a jig and wrap style bait through there with nothing on the bottom.
I tried to spoon, I get nothing on it.
But you had to cover enough water to find them. And first drift, we had most of them within a short amount of time. Then we had a long pause, and then we hit another one.
Yep.
And then that was it, and we went back up. But you got to cover through water, and your electronics in there, unless it's forward facing, aren't telling you much, because you're only in 10 foot of water, and the chance of something letting you float directly over it to see it, you're not looking like that. Your rod is your fish finder at that point. So fun morning, and a great way to talk through what we did and why we did it, but also what else you could do through there. And in that shallow of water, I tend to think the speed is a little quicker than in deeper water. Deeper water, I would naturally slow down a little bit more.
Fish in there hunting bait.
Yes. If they're in that
They're
shallow,
not bugging, they're chewing.
yeah, agreed, 1,000%. If they're in that shallow, they're eating. They're actively feeding. And every bite today is, they're trying to rip the rod out of your hand. Jerkbait bite is fun if you haven't done it, and don't get wrapped up in the jerkbait mafia. Frickin', you gotta have $25 jerkbaits. I caught all my fish on a Rapala shadow wrap today in the purple descent. And that's expensive, but it's a Rapala. It's $12.99, 8 dicks or whatever. online at FishUSA. You can get them in all the colors of the rainbow. But I have more expensive jerkbaits, but that's I've caught a lot of fish on that. In this lake, everything likes it, you know, so I keep fishing it. But you don't have to have
mega bass.
Yeah. You really don't. They work.
They work.
Don't get me wrong. They definitely work.
So does a KVD for half the price.
For half the price. You know, the Strike King KVDs, I've got a few of them. They're the same thing. They're I think are $1 more expensive than the Rapala. You know, and there's a number of companies that make
Livingston.
That's
another good one.
That make good quality jerkbaits. So, and as far as rods go, we both were fishing a different style rod, but both spinning rods. I do fish a jerkbait sometimes with a bait caster. I can cast farther. I can cast in different directions with a spinning rod better than I can with a bait caster. So I fish mine on a spinning rod. I'm fishing it out of 7'9" JTX mag medium light. And that's a longer rod too, but I'm up on the bow or the stern platform of the boat, and I put my tip down, and I'm not overpowering it. I snap it like that, and I assume that bait goes like this, you know, and that pause after it does that is just more than those fish can handle a lot of times.
They can't take it.
They just, I don't know what it is.
They can't take it.
They're like, what? You want some? You know, and then they smash it. So that's our day. Thanks, buddy, for joining me. I appreciate it. And
Right back at you.
I will see you guys tomorrow. Probably same place until the weekend. And I may go do that again. That was a lot of fun today. Thanks.
Keep
Keep your tip up.